Hi, I'm Alan Dudman, and this is Timeform Radio's Global Racing Podcast.
Frankel utilises that turn of foot to devastating effect. What a brilliant horse!
Zenyatta! What a performance! One we'll never forget. Looked impossible.
He's giving the Queenslanders everything they want. Black Caviar!
Formidable Zarkava qui va s'imposer dans un arc de triomphe exceptionnel.
Rocket Man in front, and he's done it this year. Rocket Man wins the Golden Shaheen.
Welcome to part 2 of our special preview podcast for the 2012 Breeders' Cup World Championships of Racing from Santa Anita, California. And coming up, we'll be taking an in-depth look at the 9-race card of Breeders' Cup action on Saturday, the 3rd of November. All of the races will be live on Timeform Radio. And we've got our expert panel on board today of Graham Cunningham and TVG's Joaquin Jaime. And we'll hear from a man who knows all about riding winners at the Breeders' Cup and beyond. That's Hall of Fame jockey Kent DeZormo. Firstly, let's say hi to Graham Cunningham, who joins us from California. Hi there, Graham.
Hello, Al. Happy Halloween from Los Angeles.
And thank you very much for joining us. And Joaquin Jaime as well from TVG. Hi there, Joaquin.
Hello, Alan. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. And obviously, Breeders' Cup Saturday. Firstly, Graham, with you, how much does this meeting and this day, when we end with that crescendo from the mile to the classic, how much have you enjoyed this over the seasons?
Fantastic. Especially at this course at Santa Anita, the last 2 Breeders' Cups at Santa Anita, I think we've had 11 European winners. Probably about 60 or 70 metres away from the winners' enclosure now. 11 European horses have gone in there as winners. I'll be very disappointed if we don't have at least 3 European winners this weekend. The best one of all, 4 years ago, when Ravens Pass came right past where I'm sitting now, pretty much the identical seat with Frankie Dettori on board, having floored the American superstar Curl in the Classic. Great event, great sight, not least because we had the pick 6.
And Joaquin, with you, how are you feeling regarding the home team taking on the might of the European Challenge? Are you feeling quite confident?
Yeah, I feel quite confident, but the European contingent is going to be very strong this year. But we also have some very strong contenders in our own right, in the Classic, Game On Dude, Wise Dan in the Breeders' Cup Mile, and Point of Entry in the Breeders' Cup Turf. We're very well represented as well, and have a very strong team, just as much going into the Breeders' Cup this year.
Now we're going to look at all the races on the Saturday. It's going to be live on Timeform Radio, and let's start by looking at the 650 to kick us off at Santa Anita. It's the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf, the Grade 1 for the 2-year-olds. And Graham, I think we'll start with you because the European Challenge here, I guess headed by Dundonald. Would that be a fair shout for Roger Charlton? And it looks quite strong, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it's a deep team Europe have here. Dundonald is probably the strongest contender. Good news for him is that he's reputedly regarded as a pretty nervy horse, and he was a bit nervy going out yesterday. Today he was much more composed. But if you have a look at Timeform ratings, 3 European horses have won this race. Donativum here for John Gosden, also Pounced for John Gosden, and Wrote last year for Aidan O'Brien. This horse, Dundonald, has got a slightly higher Timeform mark than any of that trio carried into this race. So if you use race standards, he's well up to scratch based on that excellent Acomb win at York and that very good performance and defeat behind Toronado in the Group 2 Champagne Stakes at Doncaster. So here's a horse who's already shown a level of form which suggests he's definitely good enough to go close.
And we can have a listen to Dundonald in action, that race at Doncaster, as Graham said, behind Toronado.
Held together. Dundonald trying to throw down a challenge with that ear, then Birdman and Maxentius. A furlong and a half to go. Dundonald trying to get past Toronado, who's still just in front by a neck or so. Back in 3rd place is that ear, Toronado, and Dundonald, the big 2 in the market. Toronado is still in front by a neck, by about a head. Toronado in front will make all. Toronado won the Champagne in a pulsating duel with Dundonald. Their ear was 3rd, Maxentius.
And Graham, a point with Dundonald, when he raced against Steeler earlier in the season, he was a different type. Would that be fair comment to Toronado as well, whereas Dundonald looks quite a sleek, kind of speedier horse, which hopefully would suit America?
Yeah, it's interesting to hear James Doyle on this subject. He's adamant that the Doncaster race, small field and somewhat fragmented gallop, wasn't designed to see this horse to best advantage. There'll be no dawdle, no fragmented gallop this time around. He's got a big field, a good draw, can conditions which should suit. He's got a great deal in his favour, but the European team here is very, very strong. They're strictly on form at the moment, as the market suggests. Dundonald leads the parade.
We can get your input into this, Joachim, and tell us about the American home team here. Who would be the best out of the 2-year-olds for this race?
I think both of them come from the Chad Brown barn and Balance the Books and Noble Tune. We also do have a Grade 1 winner in here in Joha for Mike Maker, who won the Breeders' Futurity at Keeneland in his last start. Going back to the Chad Brown runners, Balance the Books looks for his third straight win. He won the With Anticipation at Saratoga 2 starts ago, and he's coming off a nose victory in the Bourbon Stakes, a Grade 3 at Keeneland. He was a favorite that day, heavy favorite, and he did not have the easiest trips. He missed the break ever so slightly, hopped a little bit, was off a bit slow, and then since his running style is a come-from-behind running style, he had this really long, sustained, wide rally out in the middle of the racetrack with Julien Leparoux, and it was a really good race for him to run down the leaders in the end and get up by a nose. He also did have a pretty good bump. It was a roughly run race in the middle of the stretch where a horse drifted out, caused another couple horses to his outside to drift into the path of Balance the Books and ended up bumping hard with another contender that's in here in Brown Almighty. So Balance the Books, I think, from Chad Brown, a top contender from the U.S., also Noble Tune, the 9, 6-1 morning line, and he's undefeated in his 2-race career, comes off a win in the Pilgrim Stakes, a Grade 3 at Belmont Park. He's won on firm ground in a maiden race. He's won on yielding ground in his last start on October 8th, and it looks like those 2 runners for Chad Brown, as well as the Mike Maker runner, who's going to be forwardly placed in Joha, picks up Javier Castellano, who's 1-for-1 on him. He was aboard the maiden win, going 6 furlongs May 24th at Belmont Park. But this is a horse that's going to be forwardly placed and does seem like there's going to be a fair amount of speed in the juvenile turf on Saturday.
So, Graham, has Joachim persuaded you to part with your dollars, or would you be sticking to the European team here?
Not necessarily in this case. I'm sure he's going to persuade me in a few other races this weekend, but I think Europe might have the call here. It's a strong team in terms of quality and quantity. I just need to touch on the O'Brien team here. George Vancouver, lines of battle with blinkers for the first time. I must admit, I prefer George Vancouver. I think he definitely has the better form based on that excellent performance in the Prix-Morny and in the Dewhurst. And Aidan touched on a subject that's, I think, very significant as regards the ground. By Henry the Navigator, George Vancouver, it's been a very wet season in Europe, and Henry the Navigator couldn't walk on deep ground, according to Aidan O'Brien. George Vancouver is likely to improve on fast surface, and Ryan Moore's chosen him. I think George Vancouver, Dundonald, major players. I must put in a word for also Artigiano, who's been on the track seemingly every 10 minutes all week. So Mahmoud Al-Zaruni is working Artigiano very hard. He's got the Tory on board. But for my money, Dundonald and George Vancouver are the 2 to focus on here.
And Joachim, 7:35, the second race, the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint. That's the Grade 1 for the older horses on the dirt over the 7 furlongs. Who's leading the lineup for you here?
In the Filly and Mare Sprint, this is a race for Group Idol, and it's her race to lose. At least here in the States on the morning line. She's even money, and she has been very, very good. She was a good horse before early on in her career, but 4 starts back in the Grade 1 Vinery Madison at Keeneland on April 12th, they decided to put the blinkers on this filly, and she's been a completely new filly since the addition of blinkers. She's ruled off 4 straight victories. She set a track record on May 5th on Kentucky Derby Day at Churchill Downs, going 7 furlongs in the Humana Distaff, and 1:20-2. She won by 7 1/4 lengths that day. She's in incredibly sharp form. I was out at Santa Anita on October 29th when she had a 3/8 drill over the racetrack and 34-2. She looked great doing it, very easy, and she's definitely the one to beat in Group Idol, and I think probably going to be one of the tougher favorites to beat on the card. She's in very good form.
And the Dirt Mile, 8:14, the Grade 1 here. We've got to start with Shackelford, former Preakness winner, of course, and won the Met Handicap at Belmont back in May. Is he going to be the key horse in this race, do you feel, Shackelford?
Yeah, Shackelford, he was a winner of the Met Mile 3 back. I think he's the horse to beat in here. But you also hear Kieran McLaughlin very high on MC.